Dana, it's great to have you back on the program.
Hi, Grant. Thanks for having me. I think Sheriff Clark was absolutely right, by the way.
I think right back to Baltimore when they let them have their safe space to destroy things.
Yeah, that's called lawlessness. That's not giving anyone a safe space. That's just utter lawlessness. And you have to, what about the safe space for the business owners? What about the safe spaces for the people who lived there and had to put up with this? We have family in Baltimore. They had to deal with all of this. I mean, what about the safe spaces for those people? Or, Grant, what about the people in Ferguson, the businesses, the mom and pop shops that were burned to the ground? What about their safe spaces?
Yeah, I believe that there are evil people in this world. They walk amongst us. Sometimes they even look like us. We may not know they are next to us, but they are nearby, ready to strike at a moment's notice, which is why I carry a firearm almost everywhere I go. And I recommend that people get trained and permitted to do so as well.
Yeah, and that's what all law-abiding gun owners do. I love this thing that's pushed by these gun control folks, that they think that gun owners just go and they buy a gun and that's it. That's all they do. Actually, no, one of the things, we love to go train. We love to go to the range. We love to run through different scenarios. And I have yet to meet a gun owner that hasn't done any of those things. There are so many misconceptions about firearm ownership and about who these people are. But of course, that's part of the fear package that gun control lobbyists want to push.
Yeah, and also that the media wants to push, which brings us to the next topic, Dana. Time magazine names Donald Trump as Man of the Year, and then they say President-elect of the divided United States, President of the divided states of America. They come out and they slam him after a tremendous victory, leaving many people optimistic about the future of America. Once again, the media disappoints.
Well, I don't prize the Time cover because they've put some pretty bad dudes and chosen some pretty bad dudes as the Man of the Year for Time magazine. But Time magazine, by the way, Grant, have you seen Time magazine lately? When I was in the airport last, you know how you go by those little kiosks in the airport terminals, and I saw Newsweek, which is like paper thin. What's the grade of paper they're printing that thing on? It's cheaper than toilet paper. And then I saw Time magazine, which has gotten so thin, Grant. It's gotten so thin. Do people read Time magazine anymore? I bet the average age of their reader is probably 99 years old. Nobody reads Time magazine, but it's their little slam. And the thing about divided states of America, that's so funny because it's not divided. That's what's so interesting. It's not divided. It's again, this is all coming down to ignoring the flyover people. I wrote the book on it, Flyover Nation, ignoring all of those flyover people and all of the disaffected Democrats that decided, you know what, we don't really want a third term of Barack Obama. You know what? We're not really bitter clingers. We don't really appreciate being stereotyped as such. And you've never delivered on any of the promises that you've ever stated in any of your stump speeches, Democrats. So we're going to go and we're going to try something different. That's what happened.
Well, when you talk about Flyover Nation, maybe it is divided states of America, and I'm actually happy about it. It's New York and California divided by the rest of the nation, and I'm glad New York and California aren't next to each other because the two of those states are actually a mess with the way they view things in this world.
Oh, yeah, it's insane. New York, when I visit New York, I love the people there, but I can't see the sky. It's like, imagine fists closing over you and the fingers close. It's sort of like that. And in California, I mean, beautiful countryside. Out of spite, I just want to turn that state red, just so all of the people out there have to deal with all of us. But no, in a way, you're right, because when you look at how media covered the election and look at how media is covering post-election, these entities are located where? With the exception of CNN's headquarters in Atlanta, these entities are in New York and they're in Los Angeles. They're on one of the coasts. They rarely venture out to Flyover Nation except to do some sort of Southern Gothic story on them or Southern Gothic documentary on them. They treat Flyover Nation as if it's one big Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia documentary. I mean, that's pretty much how they do it. And for instance, with the fires and the floods and everything, the flood that took place in Nashville, historic, the fires that have been just ravaging the South, that's not really getting, and you and I talked about this recently, that's not getting the wall-to-wall coverage that it deserves because it's not taking place in California, or because it's not New Jersey, or it's not New York. And that's the disconnect there. I mean, in a way it's divided, but it's not divided even so much along ideological lines, so much as it is you have coastal, you have people who believe themselves to be elites because they left the middle of America and they chose one of the coasts to go to. And they still are feeling, Grant, even after this election, they feel, now this is the ultimate irony, these people feel that they were underrepresented in the last election. These people who live in these massive cities, these massive urban centers of New York and Los Angeles, they feel that they were underrepresented this past election, even though they've been overrepresented every single election of my lifetime that I can remember. And so that's what's incredibly frustrating. With that, I get, yeah, there is a bit of a divide there, but I'm going to tell you something, and I cannot emphasize this enough. Two things. We have an amazing opportunity with this victory, but also the stuff like, I haven't read the Time Magazine article yet. I'm sure it's just pretty craptastic. But that's just more reason why these people are going to continue to lose. They're hanging on to a dying ideology, Grant. It's a dying ideology, and they just keep going with it. It's like the definition of insanity.
Well, that it is. And Dana Loesch, I'll tell you, more people are moving from some of those states to Texas to get away from all of that. You and I live in Texas. It's a great place to be. Hey, Dana, thanks so much for coming on.
But, Grant, before I let you go, maybe we should build a big, beautiful wall here in Texas. And those people, that love 2A as we love it, and that appreciate going to the range, Grant, and doing all that fun stuff, those people can come in. But all of the people that want to curtail our rights, I think we should be a little bit selective, so maybe not everybody come in.
I agree with you 100%, Dana Loesch, as always. Hey, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, Grant.
All right, you got it. Well, maybe not always, but almost always. Hey, I have friends in Connecticut, and these folks complain about the liberalism going on in Connecticut. And they say, well, I'm going to move to North Carolina or move to Texas. And then I watch them move to states like that, Republican states, Texas especially. And they get down here, and then they continue to vote for liberal policies and liberal politicians. And I say to them, you just moved from Connecticut to get away from high property taxes, to get away from high income taxes, to get away from gun control. You move to a state like Texas, and then you continue to act like you did when you were in Connecticut. Dana summed it up. It is hypocrisy at its best, idiocracy at its worst. And so that's what we face, and I don't blame people from California and New York, real conservative-minded folks who love their guns, and there are those folks in those states that want to get out of there and escape, and I don't blame them. Hey, I'm Grant Stinchfield for NRATV. Thanks so much for watching.